Heyo and welcome in today. Today joined by me, Daniel, and also we have Alex Kiesling in.
Kiesling. Yeah.
Kiesling, yep, awesome. You can check out his work here on his website, alexkiesling.com, and you also have Instagram and some other
Yep.
things.
Yeah, it's just my name also. At Alex Kiesling.
Yep, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome
Thanks
in.
for the plug.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a Brooklyn-based illustrator and animator. Live here right in Bushwick, Brooklyn, New York. I also am a senior designer for Buck at this current moment, but I really did freelance for like a majority of my career so far, doing things like concept art or a lot of like branded projects, such as like doing stuff that's like, you know, me working with a brand or a client to do something like an animation. I've done a murals and just design work in general. And of course, I've done a lot of like editorial work too.
Awesome. That sounds really cool. I've seen some of your work on the website. I see you worked with MTV, which is
Yeah,
really cool. Uh,
yeah, it was one of my first.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was one of my first projects actually. MTV. It was I think that was probably my first or second year when I started working in freelance. It was a pretty fun project.
awesome. Were they kind of easy to work for?
Yeah, yeah. They didn't really have like a ton of art direction, so it's kind of like a pretty open-ended assignment. Like
Mm.
they're like, here's a lump of money and here's a prompt to the project, and just make this thing in 2 months. So that was it. There's a few projects that kind of end up like that, where they're pretty nice and chill. Uh, it can be rare on the occasion, but there's just some clients that, like I would say, Adult Swim. I just did something for Adult Swim, and they're also very easy to work with because they were just like essentially pay you to just make something really cool, and they would give you very little like back and forth feedback that can be more of a nuisance in some cases.
Oh yeah, like we want this edited and you know,
Yeah.
mm, fair enough. Was it for a certain like show, or was it just kind of?
No. It's for their what do you call them? They're like blocks or something.
Yeah.
It's just like a little 15-second like insert during their like advertisements. So you have a show running and they just might insert it in between like blocks in the shows.
Mm.
That's pretty much it. There's a few people that have actually worked on that exact same project, and can't name anybody off the top of my head at the moment, but you can find them definitely on Vimeo and stuff like that. I think they're called MTV Artist Idents, which
Mm.
yeah,
Awesome.
that's it.
Yeah, they look pretty fun to do, and I've seen them. They're watching. Growing up, I had Sky, so we had like MTV, and the other one was Cartoon Network. They always had those like little fun skits and things. Um, that was fun to see, and there's some awesome artists that worked on that. Some of them, were Nickelodeon artists, and others were like other artists you didn't expect. And I was like, wow, it's different.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's cool, and I've heard some awesome stories about people doing that kind of thing. It's cool.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely probably my top five favorite projects that I've gotten to do with a client before.
Awesome. And so before then, were you doing a lot of like animation stuff?
No, that was like my first ever actual animation. So they asked me to work on it, and I was like, I've never done like an animation above like 2 seconds, like your
Mm.
typical animated GIF in Photoshop.
Yeah, yeah.
So when they asked for like a full, I think it was, yeah, it's a full 15-second like advert. It was a pretty intimidating task. And I was like, they ask you, they're kind of like, hey, we want to do this project with you. And you're not going to say no. So you're just like, I'm just going to figure it out, you know. Uh, that's the thing I kind of learned is, sometimes you just, if you think you have the time for something, you just say like, yeah, I can do it. And then just literally just really work hard and figure it out.
Mm,
Because it's a good opportunity and it's like whatever, just do it.
exactly. You got to work through it, and you just find a way to make it work if you really want it.
Mhm.
A project or whatever you're working on. Um,
And a lot of those people too that like I think there's a lot of people that worked on those like kind of like those like the MTV idents, like a lot of them might not even be like professionally trained animators. They
mm,
just might have done a few animation projects themselves and just had maybe good storytelling or cool style. And it doesn't matter. It's just like you have your strengths and they can see that you have a strength, so they're hiring you for a reason. It's not necessarily like they expect you to be some like god tier cell animator or something like that, or CGI animator. It's not about that in the end.
yeah, definitely. They want the look and feel of the work, which yeah, it works really well. It's like I think the starts of The Simpsons. Um, they've had like so many different animators come in, and artists that haven't really animated before, and it's really cool to see what they create on it. um
Yeah, that's a cool example. That I'm not sure about animators, but I know that yeah, I definitely seen a few with like some weird, crazy animators and stuff like that. I imagine, yeah, it's almost like they probably have like probably like guest animators slash directors or something just for those intros. And it's like just like probably pretty open creative freedom, I would imagine. But I don't know enough about, that type of stuff on The Simpsons. But
Mm.
that's what I would imagine what it's like, at least.
Yeah, it's just cool to see, people that not necessarily like in the animation field just come in and give it a shot. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, awesome. I was wondering, did you go to college or any art school?
Yeah. I went to it's a school called Rhode Island School of Design,
Oh yeah,
which
Rhode
is
Island.
it's in the name Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Um, Usually people outside of America, I don't think really would know what that school is, just like how I think a lot of people in America don't know the universities outside of America themselves. But
Mm,
it's a good art school, and it's a nice place to have gone to get educated in my field. But I think the school itself is not like I think everybody's heard of like Cal Arts and stuff like that. So our school was less like technical training and
mm,
getting yourself like kick started right in the field. They're kind of like conceptual creative thinking or critical thinking kind of skill, but they didn't like teach anything with what programs to use or anything like that. It was a very weird kind of interesting experience that maybe is not the same as other people with art school.
mm, definitely. I think it's different everywhere. For me, yeah, mine was a design school, where it branched off into different aspects of it. But yeah, like you're saying, it didn't teach those programs in particular. Um, there were a few classes that did, some delved into like 3D software, but most of the time you were figuring things out on your own when it came to kind of how to do things. Like you had a brief or something to design this and that, but it was up to you to learn and use the tools. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
In the end, I think a lot of those tools, they're very just technical things that you can honestly just learn off of like YouTube videos and stuff like that. So I think it was kind of a good experience to just also, get more of those things that I don't think a lot of people get to get from YouTube videos, which is maybe the like that critical thinking skill and like thinking about like what makes this good, what makes this bad kind of stuff.
Mm.
Because yeah, in the end, like yeah, it's like I think all my technical skills I learned, I did not learn in school at all in any way. Like I had to learn CGI like on the job for a Google project because they thought I was a CGI artist and I already took the job for this project. And then it wasn't until like halfway through that they were like, "You're gonna make this like for Unreal Engine 4, right?"
Mm.
And I was like, "What do you mean? Like I'm just a painter. Like I don't know what you're talking about." And yeah, that's what I learned, like what a project scope is. So essentially, we had to clarify way in the beginning of our emails, you know, like what am I doing? What are you doing? And I just assumed that they knew that I was just a digital painter, but they thought I did CGI stuff. So they were like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna do like all the CGI work." And because it was misplanned on my part, and I think it was kind of equally my part and their part on that case, because they didn't ask me. They just
Mm.
assumed too. As I assumed with them, they assumed with me, and I had to learn like 2 weeks. I had to learn in 2 weeks how to use Cinema 4D and build assets for them. But it was good because in the end, it kind of like kickstarted me learning Cinema 4D, which I don't mind.
Mm. Well, that's awesome, experience in its own.
Mm-hmm. Yep, learn on the job. That's what it is sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Um, when did you kind of start putting your work on online and start promoting it?
Probably when I was in college, maybe around the year 2015.
Yeah,
I have no idea when I started posting on Instagram.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but I didn't really get like, I think I also deleted a lot of those old posts and stuff like that because, it was just me like trying to figure out, what is my style and all that stuff. So it just it probably looked really inconsistent to what I had now. So honestly, I didn't feel like my social media started to like pick up a little bit more until I was working my first job at a kind of like creating video game assets for a company. It was my very first job I ever got out of college, and I was just like staying late at work, essentially making these little drawings that with a process that I discovered from work. So these little drawings just kept posting them, and just kind of I enjoyed the process a lot, so I just kept working on it and doing it, staying late at like 12 in the morning every night in the office, and just posting it the next morning. And that was pretty much my actual start, I would say, on social media. Is that other than the fun terrible drawings of doing stuff in college that were just super inconsistent and me just trying to figure things out.
Mm, awesome. Yeah, I think, we all have that kind of experimental period of time, um, playing around and figuring out at the start, um,
Yeah.
things like what your style is and what you kind of like, and just learning, you know.
Oh yeah, totally. It's I don't think people in college should really be so stressed about trying to find the style in their art and everything like that, because I think style comes from like I think probably like three things, which is one, it's your shorthands. So it's like essentially your own kind of shortcuts in drawing that you naturally always have. Your passions for your like what you like to draw in culture, arts, the type of process that you really enjoy, and then also just the things that you are also naturally limited at, and those things. I think all of those things combined together just kind of naturally have a process, or those three things come together to naturally create a style. And these things are just quite natural. I think in the end, people will through time just develop these things. So it's not really something that you should try to stress and be like, oh, this is my style, and I'm gonna just I just have to stick with this look now. Like I'm like, oh, I got this look. I have to just stick with it now because this is what people expect. It's like if you're not comfortable with it, like move out of it.
Yeah.
Always find something new to enjoy, with your work, because that's why you make art in the first place, is to enjoy what you're making.
Definitely. I don't think it stays still. Um, you're always evolving and developing your
Hmm.
skills and yourself. And um, yeah, I think my per se style for me, I think it's slowly shifting as well. And I've seen a lot of artists. I'm like, wow, going from what they like. For instance, have you heard of Piper Theodore?
No. I can look them up though right now. Let's-
They do these daily sketches. Um, and they've been doing it for years. I'm just like so amazed. But they were just doing like just the characters for like 2 or 3 years or something like that. And then now you see like some of the pieces that they're doing, and now they're doing like backgrounds with them, and just way more epic stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
can't. What's their name again? You said they're called
Piper Theodore.
Theodore. Theodore?
Yeah, I'm not sure the spelling on that one.
Not Theodore Piper. No. Hmm. You have to shoot me a link though.
Yeah,
Afterwards.
I'll shoot you a link. But seeing some of these artists develop, it's just it's epic. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think there's a lot of artists that also they I think us as artists we're kind of blind to what our style is too. So, we think we we might be a little afraid to step out of the we might be a little afraid to step out of our style that we've formed sometimes because we're afraid that people won't recognize our
Mm,
work. But you'd be surprised how many people actually recognize the work that you make. The So I think as artists, you're kind of blind to your own style because it's like I said, it's those like things like the shorthands that you make in drawing, or like maybe your lack of skill and something, or those like really passionate things that feel very normal to you, people can really easily pick up on.
mm,
So to you, that's like this is the norm. This is who I am, and I don't really ever think about how different my stuff is. But then other people, it's like they can really easily spot those things out of a crowd. So it's always like fine to just kind of I think if you had to go in one direction of being safer and sticking within a style, because or going a little bit more risky and trying to like go out of a style, I would say go in the latter direction because I think you're more than likely people are still going to recognize you as you. You're not going to
yeah.
ever be like too crazy drastic that it's like a totally different artist.
Yeah. It's funny. So, have you seen those ones where they get the same or different artists to draw the same thing?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a few. I've seen a few of those things before. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, those are always interesting because yeah, you do have that kind of attach to things that just makes it different and cool. Um,
yeah.
I've done in the last year or so, I've done a few, probably about three, draw this in your style ones, um, which has been pretty fun to do, or two or three.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I also think about like one of my friends, Ramon Joffrey, who's he just recently his don't he just directed like something with Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. Um which is pretty cool. I think it just literally just came out maybe today. But
oh, cool.
he was originally started as a cell animator, and he started getting into using Blender, and it's a whole different medium,
Hmm.
but his work still translates, and you can still look at it and be like, I know exactly who you are as an artist, even though like you might like if you look at his portfolio and you'll see like this huge jump from like his cell animation to all of a sudden his like CGI work. You be like, okay, these are two completely different mediums, but he's still exploring, and it's still like he has his like look that is still in each one.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I should have asked him if it was like that stressed him out when he made that move, but seems so natural to him.
Hmm. Yeah. I think yeah, there's gonna be you can't kind of get rid of how you make things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I was wondering, do you have any like goals for the next little
Oh,
while?
goals. Honestly, just probably learning some new softwares. Like I really want to learn Ableton Live more properly. Touch Designer. I really want to learn Houdini, but that one's going to be pretty intimidating.
Heard about that
Um,
Houdini.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you have an art station, so you probably see Houdini artists all the time.
Yeah.
Um, and then probably getting into, oh yeah, I really want to get better at cell animation. I have TV Paint, which is a really amazing cell animation program. But it's like a whole different ballpark to just doing digital paintings. So it's kind of fun to challenge myself in that way, and just get better at those things because cross pollinating your knowledge in different mediums really benefits yourself into what you would make for as a final result. Because I
Mm.
think just like it's the sum is greater than the was it the the sum is the when they're combined. What's the saying again? The sum is greater than the parts or something.
I,
I don't know, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
essentially having two separate mediums uh is going to be not as strong as knowing two mediums together.
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, I guess I think that is the saying. The sum is greater than its parts.
Ah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
anyway, yeah,
Sum
is
is
that the
greater than
same?
its
Is that the
parts.
same?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I totally forgot it for a second. I usually say that saying, and I just don't know why I went blank on it for a second.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. It's I have Blender myself, and um, I don't use it too often. But I used to I really got into to getting better at Blender, um, and using it. I think I think the setback at the moment is that because I've left it so long that I haven't used it, that it's like I forget how to use it again.
Yeah, I totally get it. And yeah, honestly, like what I like to use like CGI for is also not to use it like in a totally crazy advanced way, but just to use it also to aid me in my digital painting process. So it's like an example would be like if I had an art piece where I had to paint like a really crazy tractor and you have all that perspective and stuff like that. I just like modeled an entire tractor in Cinema 4D and then just
Mm,
like pretty much just did my own trace over on top of it. And it was like it just like made it so much easier than just like trying to do it the opposite way or trying to do it where I'm like going right into painting and trying to lay out all my perspective lines right there and trying to get it perfect. It's that can have its own charm, but it's a huge pain. And art is also about finding shortcuts and stuff like that to get work in.
mm, definitely. It's another tool, and it's awesome to use. I will probably use it again. But I do one of these
Right.
90-minute art challenge actually. Because what I've been doing lately is 90-minute art challenges. I might actually
Yeah.
do one in Blender just to get it out there.
Oh
Be
yeah,
interesting to
totally.
see.
It'll be tricky. I mean, definitely because CGI always takes longer to set up your scene
Yeah.
typically versus like painting. Um, but once you have those assets built, I guess it's like then things can be produced more quickly. Like
Mm.
what's this Beeple crap? Like he has probably like a million assets that he just throws into a scene that he can just use now. If I remember, yeah, he's not just a digital painter. He's like, yeah, he's a CGI artist. I'm not
Mm.
crazy. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's like, but it'll be fun to see what you can do with that, with like that 90-minute challenge.
Yeah. It's
It'll be
it's
intense.
it's certainly now on the list. So see what I choose to create with it, and um But yeah, it's another tool. I've used many tools and things like I used to do polymer clay.
Oh yeah.
That's really fun because it's it's like it's kind of like harder clay, so it's easier to kind of shape. Um, and just using that to kind of build something and then take a photo of it, or and then using that to build a drawing up is another little technique that can be um, really helpful. You know, so just having all these tools out there and just making the most of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's the nice thing is, well, I guess with like the clay stuff, because you don't have to fire it, right? You can just like literally model it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't
you
have
don't need to fire
it's
it.
like you don't it's really nice when you don't have to worry about, the having to have crazy resources to
Mm,
make things. Like it's just about, the passion that you put into your work and stuff like that. You find like illustrators who could still pick up like Crayola crayons and make like amazing works with it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's because it's not necessarily about having like the most high end stuff. It's just about like just picking things up and creating, which is what's so great about stuff like that. That's why I tell people, I'm like, they're like, oh, I really want to get into like After Effects, or like one of my friends, she was like, I really want to get into After Effects, and I was like, okay, well, do you have the Adobe Creative Suite? And she's like, yeah, and then I was like, then do it. Like there's nothing, there's like it's not an excuse. And she's like, well, I'm gonna wait until I can get classes. And I was like, I mean, I get people want to have that course structure. It's nice to have, but also I'm like, if you really want to learn it, like you'll still just download it. It's literally a one-click download and just open it and play around in it.
mm,
Like there's nothing like stopping you. You don't have to you don't have to wait on anything. You're just do it.
yeah,
Like that's kind of like the best thing that you can possibly do to like advance yourself in any way is just literally, just do the thing, just download the file. Obviously people have the limitations of money and stuff like that, which is the magical thing about Blender and Procreate, where
mm,
it's just either free or inexpensive. So I never like to tell people like, download TV Paint, which I think is like almost a $2,000 program, which is or Houdini or even Cinema 4D. I think Cinema 4D is probably like $150 a month. I can't remember,
jeez,
which
yeah,
is
yeah,
yeah, it's like it's expensive. It's really
yeah,
great. I think it's a little bit more intuitive than Blender. But
yeah,
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 it's like I honestly am like with Blender, like it's such a powerful program nowadays. Like you just jump into that and you got like grease pencil, geometry nodes and stuff like that, which I think are just so beneficial for the program.
mm, definitely. I mean, even back when I was using that, and that was like 12 years ago, maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, I
Um,
didn't even know it's that old.
yeah, yeah, 2009 ish. They were Blender. Blender was kind of the big thing for one of the courses I was looking at. They were like, oh, so I wanted to get into kind of 3D animation. At the time, that was the booming thing. That was like, you if you 3D animator, you get heaps of jobs and all that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and it was like contacted that school, and they were like, oh, learn Blender. That's our key here, and I just went for it. And it was, it wasn't anything fancy, but it was a really cool program. You could just get cubes and create them into anything you want, and um, it was slowly building up. It was only just kind of a 3D building thing. Then they introduced like gaming mechanisms in there, and they've got all sorts
yeah.
now. And you just see it build up what they can do now compared to what they did like 10 years ago. It's still, um, yeah.
I think probably like yeah, it seems like I remember back when CGI was like only for Pixar, and
Mm,
it's like nobody would ever dream of like to me, I was like no artist ever had the capability of using CGI, and I think it was probably around maybe it was around 2012 when I got into college that one of my friends was into using CGI art, and I think he started using it probably in 2008 or nine. He was using Cinema 4D, And to me, that was like, I didn't know that there was something that could exist. You know, I thought you
Mhm.
had to have some crazy, like, crazy large Pixar studio to be able to make anything worth, anything good. And nowadays, like, literally, people can just, if you have a MacBook, you can just download Blender and just make, stuff that probably is more powerful. Uh, that looks, with the power of the render engines and everything are probably better than what Pixar had back in 2008 or something, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Because yeah,
definitely. I remember back when I had my little computer or whatever. Some of the things I'd have to render would take like hours just to render like one image. Um,
yeah, that's
waiting
insane.
for it, and
That's
yeah, I
that's when
remember.
I oh, sorry, go.
No, you go.
Oh, that's I had the same thing when I started learning CGI,
Mm.
actually not that long ago. It's I just didn't understand how to optimize scenes. So it's like I'd have a still image and it would take, I think it took like 8 hours to render a single image.
Yeah.
And it was like nothing, and it was nothing intense.
Mm.
And I'm just like sitting here going like, why does this take so long? And it's just like me not knowing how to properly, like, I probably had like, like 500,000 geometry in a scene, and just didn't, my computer was like, I don't know what to do with this, when it didn't need to be that massive. So
Yeah.
I'm like literally rendering spheres or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Something simple. That I was doing it like back at school. Just doing files and stuff. I think it was quite a big file though because I had a lot of imageries and it was like cutting and pasted images together in Photoshop, and it would take a whole lunchtime just to save my file.
Oh yeah, just wow, to save a file. And it's yeah, those files are usually not even massive themselves. They're
Mm.
I think Cinema 4D files are pretty light, you know.
Yeah, yeah, but there was,
Well,
back in the early days when computers could barely handle it. Um,
yeah, yeah, I could tell. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
yeah, compared to now where, it only takes like 2 seconds to save a file,
Yeah, it
or
really
open
does.
it.
I just
Um,
built a computer and it's like amazing how fast it is. Got
mm.
like the one of the top line CPUs and some of the top GPUs in the my computer now, and it's just such a nice joy to have compared to like running, like making something off of a MacBook Air or something like that from like 2012.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It does help. Um, yeah. I see you also have on your website you also have sketches, which is real cool.
Yeah, I have to probably look at my website itself just to see what you're even looking at. Um, but yeah, I have sketches, and I think they're probably just like anything from random doodles to like actual client work. Yeah, I
Mm.
got some like client work in here too. Things from, looks like I got some stuff from like editorial illustrations, working in studios, um, and then also just some personal stuff. I always prefer the personal stuff, but some people like to see the client work, to see that you can be adapted into the studio space easily.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's cool. It's certainly, I think it's good to have something like that. I don't think I see that in everyone's portfolio, like a sketches section. It's all, the different things that they can do. Um, but I think, yeah, it's certainly helpful because, yeah, it shows some of your thoughts sometimes. Um, and yeah, development stages and things like that.
Yeah. It's also just like me trying to show that I'm like, I got draftsman skills. Like
Mm.
I can, like I can draw more. So, because I think some people probably think like, I think I can easily show that I can like shade things. But then
Mm.
I'm like, okay, but I also want to show that I understand some basic things of like maybe basic anatomy, or like I can sketch things to make it look good for like the client and stuff like that, you know. Because I think people, as artists, we have Some people, especially I think if you work in CGI, they can make like amazing things in CGI, but then it's like when if somebody's like, oh, but can you like give us sketches or something like that? They're just like, fuck, like this is gonna be
Mm.
such a pain. Versus like, yeah, some of the other stuff like you know, so I just to me it's just a great way to kind of just show that, I adapting I can do these quick things for you guys. And then also it's like just like little rough ideas I just never uh got to ever publish myself too, which is kind of nice to just show. It's like a behind the scenes of like what you do. It's not all about the final project. It's just, sometimes people just like to see those work in progress stuff too.
Mm. Yeah, it's definitely helpful. It kind of shows your skills. It shows not that just create. You can create these images, but the behind the scenes of you can actually develop something, or um it gives proof as well. Proof that you can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm. Awesome. Um, yeah, do you have any questions for me?
Oh no. If I mean, what do you do for professionally then?
Um, Professionally at the moment, I am just working in warehousing.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
and yeah, I run this YouTube as well. Slowly coming along. Um, as well as every now and again, I'm trying to do fairs a bit more. So selling my artwork at fairs and things. Um, but yeah, I've been creating some children's books.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
that I'm working on. I've just still got to kind of polish it off. Um,
Yeah. The
yeah.
nice thing about children's books too is that you can build your book and everything like that and then pitch it to publishers. So it's not like it's like a thing that you're like waiting for some client to hit you up on. It's like just take your time, spend the time on, writing your story and stuff like that and then just sending it off.
Hmm, definitely. Um, but yeah, but I get quite a bit of time at the moment. I don't have to worry about bills when I get home, so that's the positive about it. I can just illustrate and do my stuff, and I try and get like 10 hours of painting a week done at least.
That's good. Yeah.
Um,
That's like I think that's like one of the like kudos for you to being able to get over that hurdle because that's what I get asked by a lot of people is how do you have the time to do something? And I think especially since like my working hours, I work from like my working hours are like 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., which are kind of like this like awkward time of the day where it's a little bit like in the middle. And by the time it hits like 7 p.m., the last thing I want to do after drawing all day is draw some more.
mm,
But and I think that's especially for people too. Like, I know I do, I go to the cafe with some people and they want to look at like, they want to show me a portfolio and just have like a portfolio review kind of thing. And they tell me what they're doing. And, one of the people, she was like working as a waitress at the moment. And to her, I think she's just saying like, getting burned out real easily. Like the last thing she wants to do coming home is trying to make artwork and, building that portfolio. And I'm like, it's true. It's like, it's a very difficult thing. You have to be really passionate to be able to have that stamina to keep going.
mm, definitely. And I wouldn't say that I've always had struggles with it. Every now and again I do have a bad day where it's like I don't want to paint when I come home. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, it comes down to passion. I just I usually I won't go a day without drawing, kind of a thing. I just enjoy it so much, and um, sometimes I only get to do a couple of hours a day or something, and some days I get the whole day to paint, and I just it's amazing. Um,
yeah,
yeah, so
yeah. That's probably the best feeling. It's like when you get into the groove, you just keep going.
hmm.
and it feels like you could stay up till 3 in the morning and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. Not often I get, that opportunity to do a whole day, but yeah, it's awesome when I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have nothing else though to say otherwise. I'm gonna go eat some food if that's it though.
Yeah, pretty much. And just finish it up the painting thing here. So, um, I just pretty much get to last few things, I guess. Um, what have we got? Sketches. What has you
Oh, did
been?
you
I'll
have?
ask one question. What has
Oh,
been
sorry. Yeah, yeah.
the most fun project to work on?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'd probably say it's probably like my Adult Swim project. Oh, wait, hold on. It's either that or it's my actual ever first full-time freelance project, which was doing a mural project for Google, which is the one that I told you that they thought I was a CGI artist. And
Yeah, yeah.
because that one I got to actually like think about game development and like trying to think of game mechanics and stuff like that. And I got to lead like a small team of people. But then at the same time, you know, my one of my most recent projects, which was for Adult Swim, was like super fun because it was just like again like here's some money, just just make something like really cool, and it was just a very open ended project, which can be very rare at that point.
Yeah, this
But I
sounds
think it was
like real fun, just create this, just create
yeah, yeah.
something.
They are like we trust what you're gonna make,
Mm.
just make something cool, and it's almost like an excuse to be like, okay, here's your money. Now I get to have use this money also as an excuse as like a tax write off to buy like a program or something or like a software to use that like maybe learn something new and apply it and make something that's like very interesting and different from normal stuff.
Yeah,
And I'm one of those people. It's like I don't like to half-ass my jobs. I like to like try to do as like the best work I can. So it's like I will I will I will stay up late, that last week to really try to like make it perfect. And I work all the way till the last hour till it's due.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I never like to just be like, I got this is good enough for a client. Like this is good enough. Just send it off.
Definitely. Um, yeah, well, that's been me and Alex today. It's been
Yeah.
great chatting with you. Um, yeah, thanks everyone for coming and watching and everything like that. Keep drawing, keep creating, and we'll see you in the next video.
Yeah. See it. Bye.
Bye.